This is what the narcissist secretly thinks about you now, after a long separation. Hello there. Have you ever found yourself, months or even years after extricating yourself from a relationship with a narcissist, still wondering what goes on in their mind when they think of you? Do they ever think of you? Do they miss you? Do they regret their actions? It's a natural human tendency to seek closure and understanding, especially after experiencing the unique and often deeply damaging dynamic of a narcissistic relationship. You might see their carefully curated social media profiles depicting a seemingly perfect life, perhaps with a new partner, and wonder if you ever truly made an impact or if you've simply been relegated to a forgotten footnote in their history. The truth is, what a narcissist shows to the world and what they secretly harbor in their internal landscape are often vastly different. Their outward displays of indifference or even apparent happiness post-breakup are frequently a carefully constructed defense mechanism, a way to project an image of strength and control. But beneath that facade, a complex and often turbulent inner dialogue is taking place. Their thoughts about you, even after a long separation, are rarely what a healthy individual might expect. They are filtered through the lens of their narcissistic personality disorder, driven by ego needs, a fear of vulnerability, and a persistent need for validation. In this deep and enlightening discussion, we're going to explore what the narcissist secretly thinks about you now, after a long separation. We will delve into the psychological underpinnings of their thoughts, examining how their core beliefs and defense mechanisms shape their perception of past relationships and the people who were once a significant part of their lives. Understanding these hidden thoughts can provide a profound sense of validation for your own experiences and can further solidify your understanding of the narcissistic dynamic, empowering you on your continued journey of healing and self-discovery. Welcome back, you courageous, healing soul. The passage of time after a narcissistic relationship can bring a sense of peace, but it can also leave lingering questions about what your former partner truly thinks. Let's unravel some of those secret thoughts, grounded in psychological understanding. Please remember to hit that like button if you find this helpful, share this video with someone who needs this message, and subscribe to our channel to join our community. Your support means the world. Let's begin by exploring how their need for narcissistic supply continues to shape their thoughts about you, even after a long time. They still see you as a potential source of supply, even after a significant period of separation. A narcissist's fundamental need for narcissistic supply, the attention, admiration, and validation that fuels their fragile ego, doesn't disappear. They may still harbor a subconscious or even conscious awareness of you as a potential future source of this supply. This doesn't mean they miss you as a person, but rather they remember the specific ways in which you provided them with validation in the past. From a psychological perspective, narcissists often maintain a mental inventory of past suppliers, categorized by the type and intensity of supply they offered. If you were a particularly reliable or easily manipulated source, you might remain in their mental reserves, even if they haven't actively reached out. They might still occasionally check your social media or inquire about you through mutual acquaintances, not out of genuine interest in your well-being, but to gauge your current state and whether you might be receptive to their advances, should their current sources of supply wane or become less reliable. This latent perception of you as a potential resource means you are unlikely to be completely forgotten, but rather archived for possible future use. 2. They believe they won the breakup or controlled the narrative. Narcissists have a deep-seated need to feel superior and in control. Even if you were the one who initiated the separation, they will likely have constructed a narrative in their mind and possibly shared it with others that portrays them as the one who is in control, who made the decision, or who was somehow the winner of the breakup. They might frame you as unstable, difficult, or someone they ultimately outgrew. Psychologically, this rewriting of history is a defense mechanism to protect their fragile ego from the painful reality of rejection or failure. Acknowledging that they were left or that they contributed to the relationship's demise would be a significant narcissistic injury. Therefore, they are more likely to concoct a story that preserves their sense of superiority and control. Even after a long time, this self-serving narrative is likely to persist, influencing how they think about the end of your relationship and your role in it. They might genuinely believe their own version of events, further distancing them from any true understanding of your experience. 3. They compare their current partners and their supply to what you provided. Narcissists frequently engage in comparisons between their current and past partners. Even after a long separation, they may still mentally compare the level and type of narcissistic supply they are receiving from their current relationships to what you once offered. This comparison isn't driven by genuine affection or nostalgia for you, but rather by a constant evaluation of who best serves their ego needs. From a psychological standpoint, this comparative behavior reflects their transactional view of relationships. They are constantly assessing whether their needs for validation, admiration, and control are being adequately met. If their current sources of supply are less potent or reliable than what you once provided, they might fleetingly idealize the supply you offered, even if they simultaneously denigrate you as a person. Conversely, if their current supply is abundant, they might dismiss you as insignificant or a lesser source. Regardless, the act of comparison keeps your memory alive in their internal calculation. 4. They harbor resentment if you appear to be thriving without them. One of a narcissist's deepest fears is irrelevance. They often believe that their partners are somehow incomplete or incapable of happiness without them. Therefore, if they perceive that you are thriving, happy, and successful after the separation, particularly after a long time, this can trigger significant resentment and envy. Your well-being becomes a direct contradiction to their self-serving belief that you needed them. Psychologically, your happiness challenges their sense of control and their narrative of being the superior partner. They might secretly monitor your social media or inquire about your life through others, not out of genuine care but to assess whether you are suffering without them. If they perceive your success and happiness, they may experience a narcissistic injury, leading to feelings of bitterness and perhaps even attempts to subtly undermine your progress or re-engage you in some way to reassert control or extract supply. They justify their past behavior by blaming you. Narcissists are pathologically incapable of taking genuine responsibility for their actions. Even after a long separation, they are highly unlikely to have gained any real insight into their own behavior or the pain they caused you. Instead, they will likely continue to justify their past actions by projecting blame onto you. They might still view you as the reason the relationship failed, the one who was too sensitive, too demanding, or didn't understand them. From a psychological perspective, this blame shifting is a crucial defense mechanism that protects their fragile ego from feelings of guilt and shame. Acknowledging their own flaws and the harm they inflicted would be deeply threatening to their carefully constructed self-image. Therefore, even after a considerable amount of time, they will likely cling to their victim narrative and continue to view you as the primary cause of any difficulties or the relationship's end. This ingrained pattern of blaming others makes genuine remorse or self-reflection highly improbable. 6. They might occasionally reminisce about the idealized version of you or the idealization phase. In the early stages of the relationship, narcissists often engage in intense idealization, showering their partners with attention and praise. Even after a long separation and periods of devaluation, they might occasionally reminisce about this initial phase, not necessarily because they miss you as you truly are, but because they miss the intense narcissistic supply they received during that time and the reflection of their ideal self that you provided. Psychologically, this fleeting nostalgia is often tied to their own need to feel perfect and adored. The memory of the idealization phase reinforces their grandiosity and can be a temporary escape from their underlying feelings of emptiness and insecurity. It's important to remember that this reminiscence is not about genuine affection for the real you, but rather a longing for a time when their ego felt most inflated. They might even try to recreate this dynamic with new partners, further highlighting that their focus is on the supply, not the individual. 7. They may still feel entitled to know details about your life. Narcissists often operate with a strong sense of entitlement, believing they have a right to know details about the lives of people they were once involved with, even after a long separation and despite any boundaries you may have established. They might subtly inquire about your work, your relationships, or your well-being through mutual connections, or they might even attempt to breach no-contact boundaries under the guise of checking in or being concerned. Psychologically, this sense of entitlement stems from their belief that you were an extension of them during the relationship and that they still maintain some level of ownership or control over you. Their interest isn't rooted in genuine care, but rather in a need to stay informed, to potentially re-enter your life if they see an opportunity for supply, or simply to satisfy their own sense of importance and relevance in your world. 8. They rarely experience genuine remorse or empathy for the pain they caused. One of the defining characteristics of narcissistic personality disorder is a lack of empathy. Even after a long separation, it is highly unlikely that a narcissist will experience genuine remorse for the pain and suffering they inflicted upon you. While they might express superficial apologies to manipulate you or others, they lack the capacity for true emotional understanding and regret for the impact of their actions on your well-being. From a psychological perspective, empathy requires the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Narcissists are primarily focused on their own needs and perceptions, and they often struggle to see the world from anyone else's point of view. Their cognitive empathy, understanding your emotions intellectually, might be present, but it is often used strategically for manipulation rather than out of genuine care. Therefore, even after significant time has passed, expecting a heartfelt apology or a true acknowledgement of the harm they caused is often a futile endeavor. 9. The intensity of their thoughts about you may fluctuate depending on their current supply and life circumstances. The degree to which a narcissist thinks about you after a long separation can be highly variable and often depends on their current life circumstances and the availability and quality of their narcissistic supply. If they are currently surrounded by abundant and reliable sources of validation, you might rarely cross their conscious mind. However, if they are experiencing a narcissistic deficit, facing challenges, or feeling insecure, their thoughts might drift back to past sources of supply, including you. Psychologically, this fluctuation reflects their ego-driven focus. When their needs are being met elsewhere, you might be an afterthought, but when they feel depleted or threatened, they might revisit past connections as a potential fallback, or as a way to momentarily boost their ego by comparing their past successes to their present situation. This inconsistency underscores that their thoughts about you are driven by their own internal state, rather than any genuine connection with you. So, what does this all mean for you? After a long separation, the narcissist is likely not thinking about you with genuine love, nostalgia, or remorse. Their thoughts are primarily centered on their own needs for narcissistic supply, their desire to maintain a sense of control and superiority, and their ongoing efforts to protect their fragile ego. They might still see you as a potential resource, harbor resentment if you are thriving, and continue to justify their past behavior by blaming you. Understanding these secret thoughts can provide a powerful sense of closure and validation for your own experiences. It reinforces the reality that the relationship was not based on genuine connection and that their post-breakup behavior is consistent with their personality disorder. Your focus now should remain firmly on your own healing and on building a future filled with healthy reciprocal relationships where you are valued for who you truly are. Don't waste your precious energy wondering about the internal world of someone who lacks the capacity for true empathy and genuine love. Your peace and well-being are what truly matter. Thank you for joining me on this profound journey of enlightenment. If this video has helped you to better understand your experience, please consider sharing it with someone who might be struggling. Your support helps us to reach and empower more people. And of course, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more guidance on your path to recovery. Until next time, stay strong, stay aware, and keep choosing your peace.